Hi, I'm Papia, and today we will evaluate a definite integral. The definite integral that's given to us is right here, is integral from -1 to 1, and here is the function. Now, first of all, don't get confused because of the variable being t and not x. It doesn't matter. This dt here, that tells you with respect to which variable you're going to evaluate the integral. So it's just t instead of x. Okay, so notice the function is the cube root of t minus 2. So you know, to evaluate an integral, we have to first find the antiderivative. And in order to do that, we need to apply some of those integral rules that we already have learned. So let's try to do that. But before we find the antiderivative, let's think about this first expression. Which kind of integration rule can we apply to find the antiderivative? Well, it's the cube root, right? So you can write it as exponent. So what does cube root becomes? T to the power 1/3. So as soon as you write it as an exponent form, t to the power n, you can just use the power rule. So that's the first thing you have to remember. You have to sometimes rewrite the function so that you can apply certain rules to find the antiderivative. And then the next term is just a constant. So we leave it as it is. Now, let's apply the power rule for the first term. So remember what the power rule is. You add the power by 1. So it becomes t to the 1/3 plus 1. And you divide by that same constant, 1/3 plus 1. And then for the next term, it's -2. And what is the antiderivative? It's -2 times t. So there you go. We have our antiderivatives already. Now we just have to apply the fundamental theorem, plug in the two limits, -1 and 1, and then we'll find our value in the end. Okay, so first, let's simplify this expression. So 1/3 plus 1 is 3 plus 1, that's 4/3, divided by the same constant, 4/3, minus 2t. Notice you can plug in 1 and -1 right away, but I always like to simplify this constant a little bit so that I don't have a fraction inside a fraction. It makes it easier in the end. So instead of having this 4/3 in the denominator, you can bring it in the numerator and flip the fraction, you know. So it'll be 3/4 t to the 4/3 minus 2t. Okay, now it is in a nice simplified form. And we're going to use fundamental theorem. So you know what we do. We plug in the upper limit, then we minus plug in the lower limit. So let's do that. Okay, so you plug in 1 for t. So you get 1 to the power 4/3 with the 3/4 multiplied to it, minus 2 times 1. Then remember you have to subtract, and then you plug in -1. So be careful there, it's a negative number. So you get -1 to the power 4/3 minus 2 times -1. Okay, let's see what we get. So let's simplify. 1 to the power 4/3 is just 1. So you get 3/4 there. Minus 2 times 1, so that's -2. Okay. All right, so notice this term. This is -1 to the power 4/3. What will that be? Okay, you can look at it this way. You can say this is -1 to the power 4 and the whole thing to the power 1/3. In doing so, see, since this is an even number, -1 to the power an even number is just +1. And to the power 1/3 will just be +1 again. So this is +1. Okay, so you will just have a 3/4 here. And here also be careful, this is -2 times -1, so this will be a +2. Okay, simplify. Notice that you have 3/4 and a -3/4 here, so these two will cancel out. and you will have -2 minus 2. Answer is -4. So we have evaluated the definite integral. Thank you.